and thank you so much for stopping by today. I am filming a more casual sit down video than kind of what I typically do. I guess I'm always sitting in my videos, but this just feels more casual. I'm just chatting. I have like a few ideas of what I want to talk about, but I don't really have a script in a similar way that I do to other videos. And I just wanted to sit down and knit and talk to you all just about life, knitting, some knitting opinions, maybe just adjusting to new routines after the amount of change I've had in the past few weeks or months. And so I just, wanted to have a little more casual. There's also been a lot more folks joining lately, so thanks if you're new. Thanks so much for being here. And I thought it would also be fun to tell you a little bit more about myself since a lot of my other videos aren't that. And so I'm here to sit down and just chat and work on this dang button band. So I'll be knitting on the olive cardigan. This is her. Isn't it so pretty? Oh my gosh, look at that. So yeah, I'm working on the olive cardigan v-neck version. This is a pattern by Pernille Larsen, who is the designer for Knitting for Olive. And I'm on the double knit button band right now. So I've got like one side done and I'm on the back neck right now. And I'm knitting this out of Explore Knits and Fibers yarn. I'm holding the Surrey with their earthy sock base in the same colorway, and that colorway is Docile. And it's so pretty. I got this yarn a year and a half ago as compensation for sample knitting, so before I worked for them at all. And yeah, I think it's so pretty. I'm so excited to wear this. It's just like a luminous color. I don't know. I'm really in love with it. And so I'll be working on this button band, which I started it yesterday, so it's not that bad that like I'm a little under halfway there, and I did start it yesterday. So I can't complain that much, but I just feel like it's taking forever. Cuz it kind of is. I spent like 4 hours working on it yesterday, probably more, because Ash and I from Smash Knits, we had a 5-hour phone call yesterday, which was so fun. I love her so much. And it's so fun. Like, it's always so funny talking to her about, like, she'll ask me questions about what it's like to live in the US, and I'll ask her things about Australia and learn different things. Yesterday, she told me that the most dangerous animal in number of deaths per year, like human deaths per year, is horses in Australia. Like, the most dangerous animal in Australia is horses, which I think is so funny. So yeah, it's always so great talking to Ash. But yeah, I was working on this button band that whole time, and it was like probably 4 hours out of the 5 hours we talked. I worked on it before I was like, I need to give my hands a break. And then I worked on it in the evening too. So honestly, probably 6 hours of work, and I still am not even halfway there. So yeah, working away on it. I mean, double knit button bands just take forever if you've ever had to do one, but they're worth it. So I'm excited to be working on this. And yeah, I've just been working on this cardigan a lot lately. I cast it on about a week ago, or like almost 2 weeks ago at this point. And I've been cranking away on it. I don't know, I really am motivated to work on my spring knitting plans this season. I just really want to finish them because I feel like for the past few months, like maybe even a year, I have all these knitting plans and I never end up accomplishing them. That something else always gets in the way, and that something else is usually sample knitting, which I love being able to sample knit. That's like how I fund my yarn, is by sample knitting. And so I'm so grateful to be able to do that. And like, there's certain dyers, especially, that I would never turn down a sample knit from them because I just love working with them. And I love like getting to experience their yarn, and they're so kind. So I definitely like will still continue to take sample knits, and I'm really grateful for it. And I've had the opportunity to knit so many cool things for other people and get to see my work. Like, I'm not that great at taking pictures of my knitting, and so it's always so great to like also get to see someone else model it and someone else who is good at taking pictures or taking videos show off something I knit, because I feel like my capacity to do that is low, which is why it's kind of funny that I started like a knitting YouTube. I think I'm good at talking about knitting and talking about stuff and showing like in a more casual video showing stuff where I can just be like, here, look at this. But yeah, I'm not that good at like short form videos or like the photography. Like I definitely want to work on that. So yeah, I'm really grateful for Sample Knitting for all those reasons, like getting to see my work well represented and funding my yarn. But it's definitely got in the way of my spring knitting plans, or just my knitting plans generally, and my own personal wardrobe. Like last year, I think I made maybe 2 garments for myself. And I made a lot of garments last year, but maybe 2 or maybe 3. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. But like in the latter half of the year, I made like 2 things for myself. And I mean, I'll make socks and stuff, but I just was really prioritizing sample knitting last year, and so didn't really make a lot for myself. And that's fine. Like some people never make anything for themselves, and love to gift knit or, you know, do sample knit consistently, but I feel like it kind of takes away some of my joy of knitting if I'm constantly not keeping the things that I am making. So I'm just trying to prioritize that this year, especially looking at the next few months. They're going to be really busy for me. Well, this summer is kind of my last, it's not really a last hurrah, but starting in August, I'm starting my PhD program. And so I'm really excited for that. I'm going to be in school full time again. Well, I have 3 classes, so I have 2 days a week of class. But you know, I'll have homework, I'll have stuff to do outside of those class hours, and then I'm also going to be a teaching assistant, and so I'll have responsibilities with that. And then I'm going to continue working at Explore Knits. I love it there. I really like, everyone there is so nice, and it's so cool being surrounded by yarn every day and getting to see a little bit more of like how the yarn and knitting or fiber arts industry works behind the scenes. And so we'll continue doing that. And so I also work now at my Pilates studio a few hours a week, like not very much, but I spend 2 days, not the full day, but I spend 2 days there, and I'll continue that. And so I'm only going to have 1 full day off starting in August. And I mean, I still will have lots of free time, like days with class. A class is 3 hours. So it's like, yeah, I might have 3 or 6 hours, depending on how many classes I have, of class time. The rest of my day is still free, but just like, I'm only going to have 1 dedicated day off. And so I'm getting slightly nervous about my knitting, and like fitting all of my knitting time in. So this summer, I really want to focus on knitting for myself and like chasing joy in knitting and just like having fun with it, because I don't know. I mean, like, I'm going to continue knitting, and especially like I can take the bus to school, and I'll live like, it'll be like an hour commute or a little less. And so I'll get like about 2 hours of knitting a day every time I take the bus, because I'll, you know, take it there and back, and I can bring like a sock project with me on the bus, because I can't do homework on a moving bus, but I can knit on a moving bus. Like I can't read or write. So I still will have a lot of time for knitting, and it's still like my biggest way I decompress. So I'm gonna prioritize it for myself, for like my mental health. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of weird of having to figure that out of how to work in my knitting, and it's definitely going to decrease the amount of knitting I can do. And so I'm like, I don't know, I'm just trying to like really do more designing in the next few months, knit things that have been on my plans, and just, yeah, chase like what I really want to get done. And then I feel like otherwise in the fall, I'll feel a lot of pressure to like continue doing these things I'm doing now and produce at the same level. Or not produce, it's not like, I'm not a factory worker when I'm knitting. I'm just making stuff, but like I'll want to knit at the same level and continue to have things that I'm working on and have them completed quickly. But if I, kind of front load a lot of my knitting now and feel like I'm getting a lot done, I feel like that pressure will be a little bit lower in the fall. And it's all self-induced pressure, but it's still there. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that turns out, and just wanting a season of selfish knitting. It feels like a slight last hurrah, even though it's not. Like, I worked a 40-hour-a-week job or more before this. Like, I come from full-time work, and I've just had the last few months be a lot lighter, and really enjoyed knitting during those times, and really like enjoyed being able to chase a little bit more of my creative passions. And that's definitely going to change. I also think like in my old job, I worked completely from home, and so I had a lot more flexibility in like if it was a really slow day and I didn't have a lot going on, I could knit a little during the day, or like during certain meetings I could knit because I had to pay attention, but I didn't have to talk. I could have my camera off. Like, I would knit during those meetings, or over lunch break I'd knit and things like that. And now like all of my activities I have to leave the house for. Like, to go to both of my jobs I have to leave. To go to school I'll have to leave the house, and I can't like knit during class, So it is gonna be less knitting time even compared to when I was working full time, because I can't just kind of fit it in as much. Like I said, I can do it on the bus, and I bring my knitting to Explore Knits, and I can knit like on my break and stuff. But it's not really the same because I'm like doing stuff all day, and once I have a lot of homework, I can't like knit and read. I'm not one of those people that wants to try to knit and read at the same time. Like, I really admire the people who have the focus for that, but it could not be me. Like, I love to knit and listen to an audiobook, but I don't know. Is this a hot take of like, because I see a lot of, especially knitting influencers, showing how they'll read a book and knit at the same time, and being like, this is how I like get my reading in, and like showing it off. And that's amazing that it works for them, but I just feel like I would not be able to focus on either thing, and that I just would have a horrible time doing that. And I can't tell like if I'm in the minority for that, or if that's crazy. Like, I can't imagine trying to focus on that. Or I saw someone a while ago bringing their knitting on a walk. I was like, I would fall. Like, I drop stitches and fall. How are you doing that? And so I'm not going to be the person that like does homework and knits, because I just can't. Like, if I have to watch videos and knit, cool, but like I can't focus on that. So I don't know, we're gonna see what that is like. So yeah, that really could not be me doing the reading and the knitting. I like, no hate to anyone that can. That's really impressive, honestly, but are you digesting the content from both? Like, if you do that, can you let me know? Like, do you feel like you actually digest what's being said and can knit? Or like, are you constantly like looking up and down? I don't know. It blows me away. I feel the same about like, see people bringing their knitting to the pool or to the beach, and I hate that. Like, I hate the idea of that. And I I have a lot of sensory things. I already kind of like don't like the beach or the pool that much because of like the sand and the chlorine and the like salty water. Like at the beach, the salty water and the sand, and at the pool, like sunscreen and chlorine and all of that. I don't like the feel of that. But I can't imagine having my knitting around that. Like the way wet wool feels is really gross, and I wouldn't want to like risk getting my knitting wet or risk like getting sunscreen on it, or like at the beach getting it all sandy. Like I can't imagine. And like I block everything so it'd get a good wash, but I still just, I don't know, could not be me, which is fine. Everyone has their own things, but I like to knit on a patio. That's like the furthest my knitting will go outside. Yeah, patio, maybe a park. I'd knit at a park on the ground. Like, yeah, I've knit at a park before, but yeah, I like to, I don't know. I'm always worried about getting something on my knitting if I bring it somewhere outside. So I very rarely do that. So I kind of wanted to sit down and talk because I've been like not overwhelmed, but I feel like life feels really busy right now, even though I, on paper, have more free time than I did in the past. But the time that I don't have free is way less free. And I feel like I'm really still adjusting to new routines at work and just in life generally, and still kind of like trying to figure out how I can best person in between all of my responsibilities, and like how to like keep my house clean and do all this when I used to work full-time remote. It's like, okay, yeah, I have 8 hours a day of work. I start really early, and so I'd start at like 6 or 6:30 and I'd finish around 2:30 or 3, and so I could like also unload the dishwasher in the middle of the day because I'm at home, or run a load of laundry in the middle of meetings and stuff, or like between meetings. And now I don't really have that. Like my schedule now is that 2 days a week I'm at Explore Knits, and I'm there from I have to leave my house a little bit before 7 a.m. to get there on time because I live like closer to Boulder than I do Denver, and Boulder is north of Denver, and Explore Knits is based in South Denver. And so I'm not only driving to Denver, but then I'm driving through Denver to get to their office, or like the warehouse, and that takes me about 50 minutes. So it's not that bad, but we work 10-hour days, so we start like a little bit before 8, and so I have to drive so I have to leave my house a little bit before 6, or a little bit before 7 to get there on time, because traffic just is always kind of variable. And then I get home a little bit after 7 usually. So I'm gone a little over 12 hours for 2 days of the week, and I'm exhausted. Like I couldn't do anything after those 12 hours of being gone. I'm beat. Like dyeing yarn is very labor intensive. Like if you love hand-dyed yarn or have worked with it, like just know that the person who dyed it probably has really good tricep muscles from all of the dyeing of the yarn, because it is a workout. Like it is hard. It's not like, well, wet wool is really heavy. If you've ever blocked something, like wet wool is very heavy, and so lifting, like even we'll dye 3 skeins at a time, so lifting 3 skeins of soaked yarn, you feel it, especially if you're like continuing to lift it up and down, which is kind of how you dye things. And I don't dye, but like rinsing things out, you're doing that, and so that's heavy. And then you're also like throughout the day I'll have to carry around big pots full of dyed yarn, and that is heavy. Like they weigh like 30-40 pounds, and we're like carrying them across the studio, and they're hot, like they've just been dyed, and so you can't carry it against your body, and they're full of water, like specifically water that will stain your clothes because it's dyed water. And so it's a workout and you're on your feet for a long time. And so I just like kind of 2 days of the week, I'm like, I'm out. I can't do anything on those days. Like, I'm not really even knitting on those days. Like, I get home at 7 or a little after 7 and I just eat and maybe knit for an hour. And then I'm just like, want to stare off into the distance. Like, I don't know. I'm just tired. And especially like I work 2 days back to back. And so on Wednesday, the day where I've done one day of work and I have another ahead of me, I try to go to bed really early because I wake up around 5:30 to get myself ready and leave on time. And so I've just like those days are out for me. I love my job. It's so cool and I get to like talk about knitting and talk about yarn all the time and be around that, and it's kind of exactly I feel like what I need at this point in my life and what I really am looking forward. Like I really look forward to it. I'm really looking forward to building new skills as I continue to work there. Like I feel like I'm finally really understanding the flow of work and fitting in there, and I'm like excited to just learn more things and get better at things as I continue working there. And so I'm really happy to be there. But yeah, it cuts into knitting time and cuts into like my routines, and it takes up a lot of mental energy because it is like there's a lot of quick math of like, okay, we're dyeing 60 pots and there's 3 skeins per pot, but sometimes there's only 2 skeins and we have to mix up the dye, and depending on how many skeins there are per pot, that's different amounts of dye, and then it's a different amount of citric acid, which is our dyes need an acid to bond and to work, and so we use citric acid, which you find it in like applesauce and stuff. But yeah, it's a different amount of dye depending on how many skeins per pot, and different colors will use different amounts. So we have a chart, but then you'll have to like calculate how many skeins and all that, and then rinsing, and it's just a lot. It's like kind of a lot of mental, like nothing's hard, but it's just a lot to keep track of. And there's a lot of other people to help you and figure things out. And I really like my coworkers, but yeah, it's just like feels like a lot. To like my brain's tired when I get home. And it's a lot of socialization, which like I'm definitely an introvert, and so even though I really like my coworkers, at the end of every day I'm like, I just want to sit in silence and like not think. And Friday morning I'm always like, nobody talk to me, like I can't, like I don't want to do anything on Fridays, which is my first day off after the 2 days of working, because I'm just like physically exhausted, and then also I'm just mentally kind of tired and socialed out. And so yeah, all this to say, like I'm kind of struggling right now to build my best routines and like figure out how to like show up best on here, and this doesn't matter at all for this, but like how to keep my house clean and like do all of this. So we're still like, I still am kind of in this trial phase, and so I've felt a little bit less inspired, I guess, to make videos lately, just because I am so like there's so many other things in my life going on, and I, try to upload on Sundays, and I now work Saturdays and Sundays. That's when I work at my Pilates studio, and so it's like I feel like the end of my week's really packed, and then Monday and Tuesday are like nothing's really going on, which is nice. It's nice to have those recharge days, and like that's when I'm trying to kind of clean and do other routines as well. But yeah, it's like I work Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday I'm so tired that like I'm trying to like fix the chaos in my house from me working Wednesday, Thursday. And I do live with Noah, my boyfriend, and he, does his share of house stuff, but like, I'm not always like putting my dishes away on Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Friday, I'm like trying to fix that. I go to this workout class, and then I'm kind of like just exhausted, or like trying to catch up with people that I ignored, like friends that I just ignored their texts on Wednesday, Thursday, and things like that. And so it feels like Wednesday through Sunday goes really quickly, because then Friday is that catch-up day. Saturday, I always go to a yoga class with my mom, and then we get coffee together, and then I have work at my Pilates studio, and then that kind of like brings me close to the end of the day. And then Sunday is a similar, Sunday mornings I try to film and edit, and then I go to work, and then I get home in the like late afternoons, and I'm just tired. I don't know. So then Monday and Tuesday are kind of like feel really quiet and calm, and I'm like kind of finally get a hold on things, and I'm like prepping for the week ahead. But yeah, I'm just like still trying to really settle into my routines, and especially like Sunday after the craziness of the week and just trying to sit down and film feels a little harder right now, just to like fit everything in and like feel creative and want to like talk about something. And yeah, so I'm really grateful there's people here to watch me, and I really enjoy sitting and filming, and getting to interact with people around the world about knitting. Like, look, Ash and I just had this 5-hour phone call yesterday because I met her through knitting YouTube, and I love that. So I like being here, but yeah, I know it'll come. I've been through phases before of like feeling less inspired, and I feel like it normally does happen also around this season, where I also, it's spring, I want to go outside. I'm not feeling as much of the like cozy vibes that fall and winter bring that make me want to really talk about knitting and really sit down and talk about it and think about it more. Like, yeah, so I just feel a little less creative when it comes to coming up with video ideas, because I want to upload every week, and I don't want every single week to be a knit your aesthetic video or like a knitting pattern roundup, because they're tiring to make. Like they take a lot of effort to make, both like coming up with the aesthetic, researching it, finding patterns that fit it, trying to find patterns that are more size inclusive. Like, I'm not always perfect at the size inclusivity of the patterns that I show, but I do try to make sure that like they have at least maybe like a 55-inch plus bust. Like, my ideal would be to have every single pattern be 60 inches plus, but like, I don't know why so many designers are not size inclusive. I don't feel like it's that hard. Like, as someone who's made patterns, it's really not that hard to grade to other sizes, but the reality is there's a lot that aren't. And so adding, like, I try to add that on top of knitting plans for myself, or like doing pattern roundups, trying to find size inclusive patterns, or trying to like, I'll find a perfect pattern for an aesthetic, but then I don't want to talk about it because it only goes up to like a 45 or 50-inch bust, and that sucks. And so like trying to really balance all of these things, like I really do like making those videos when I do, and like the reaction to them has been wonderful, and I really love seeing all of your reactions and the other patterns that you'd suggest. And so I'm going to continue to make them, but I can't make them every week, nor do I think that you all would want to see like a weekly Knit Your Aesthetic video. Like, I don't know, I don't want you guys to get sick of them either, and so I try to space them out. And then I have monthly podcasts, of course, but then there's like maybe 2 or 3 other videos a month of like, okay, what else do I really want to talk about? And so like, trying to continue to come up with ideas and do all that. And I know like I will, and I'm going to continue to show up here because part of it's just showing up. But yeah, that's just like kind of why I wanted to film a lower pressure video today, get to chat a little bit. And I also love watching chattier videos, so I thought it might be fun. And again, like, there have been a lot of new people, and I'm so excited you're all here. Thank you so much for coming by. And yeah, also wanted to say hello. This is who I am. I do more than just the knitting pattern roundups. So if you are interested in more life stuff, I'd be happy to talk about stuff more, because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts right now of where I am in life, and I'm really enjoying, like, I don't know, I think it's cool that I'm working at a yarn dyer, and that I'm going back to school and that I'm getting to really dive a little bit more into knitwear pattern designing and all of that. Like, I think that it's a fun journey for me myself to watch, and so maybe some other people would be more interested in that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, so I wanted to sit down and talk about it. I also wanted to talk about my where I am with my knitting bingo. So I talk about it every month in my podcast anyways, but I kind of gloss over it sometimes because I haven't had that many updates. And so at the beginning of this year, last year I made a whole like knitting intentions where I had 10 intentions for myself that I wanted to basically hold myself to every month and like talk about them. And this year I decided that like that felt like a lot of pressure. I felt like I was really busy at my old job at the time and was overwhelmed, and so I decided that felt like too much and maybe I'd do knitting bingo instead, which I'll have my bingo board up, but basically I put 24 goals on it. That's, I think, how many squares are in bingo? Yeah, 24 goals because there's the free square. So 24 goals. Some are small of like knit a pattern from a book. Some are larger with like, I have a 6-month yarn ban on there. I have getting my stash below 5,000 grams on there. I have actually knitting with this yarn, this docile yarn on there. And so like it's a mix of small and big goals. Some are like collaborate with someone on a design. It like could be a yarn dyer, could be anything. And so yeah, I'm working on a bunch of those, and I honestly feel like it's so fun. I made a whole video about it, so I'm not gonna like overly talk about it, but now that I'm about 4 months into the knitting bingo, it is really fun. It at first felt kind of frustrating that like I'd set myself a lot of goals that just took more time. Like I want to knit a sweater with hand spun yarn, and in order to do that I had to first get an e-spinner because I have a drop spindle and I do enjoy spinning some yarn on my drop spindle, but I'm not quick at it and I feel like it hurts my body, so I don't do it very often on the drop spindle because I don't know, my shoulders, I'm a little hypermobile, a little. I'm pretty hypermobile, or like double jointed, loose jointed generally. And my shoulders especially give me a lot of problems where they just, I don't know, they're they're a little weird. And I really struggle to gain muscle in them, and doing the motion of like bringing this up and then holding it up just really bugged my shoulders. And so I knew like for that goal, I first had to get an e-spinner, which I did end up getting for my birthday. And so I have an e-spinner now, and then I have to spin enough yarn to knit a sweater. Although I do think I want to make the pressed flowers cardigan, which I'll put a little picture up of it. But yeah, the pressed flowers cardigan, and so I will just use the hand spun yarn for the background yarn. But yeah, so I have the e-spinner now. I've spun up my first single ply, and I need to chain ply it because I spun all of the single ply onto one bobbin, and so I have no other choice unless I spin up like another fiber to ply it with, but I'm just going to chain ply it. And that's just a practice one because I wanted to spin some practice yarn, figure out how the e-spinner works before I spin up the yarn for the pressed flowers cardigan. And so it's a longer process, and I have a lot of goals like that, or like just a 3-month yarn ban that I just checked off in March that, you know, it takes 3 months to check it off, and same with like a 6-month yarn ban. And so yeah, I have a lot on there that just takes longer. So I've been working towards a lot on my bingo, but I'm not getting to like fill in any squares very quickly, which is going to make like the latter half of the year really exciting, where I can kind of check a lot more off quickly because I'm doing a lot of work on my goals now. But yeah, it's just kind of funny, like not really getting to check things off immediately, even though like it also doesn't matter. This is a hobby that I do for fun. It doesn't matter how quickly I'm doing stuff or like what I'm even doing. I could check off nothing and it would still be a good year if I enjoyed my knitting. But I am very much a person that likes goals, likes things to work towards, like even like in the smallest things. Like I play a phone game every day where it's called Flow and you're like connecting dots and you have a little grid and you have to like connect all the dots without overlapping any of the lines. And I'm now obsessed with that game simply because I have a streak and I want to get to 2 years of playing it every day straight. And like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. But I really care about it. And like, I like want to be really good at the game so that I can make sure I get every day completed. Or like every time I'm working on a knit project, I give myself a deadline for it, even though it doesn't matter. Like it's just for me. I don't need a deadline, but I want to set one. Like I just enjoy deadlines. I enjoy like having a plan and trying to stick to that plan. And so the knitting bingo is giving me that. So I'm working towards it. But yeah, just reflecting on my goals, it's funny of like how many of them do take a long time. Or just, I don't know, I didn't prioritize it first. Because this one, I mean, it's just one project to do this. And there's a couple others of like, I really wanted to use certain yarn in my stash. And so I'm working toward those goals by just making plans to use that yarn. And so, yeah, I am enjoying my knitting bingo. It has been fun. I think like if you still want to do it, I did make a template for it, and so I can have that linked if you want to make your own. But of course, I'm not the first or only person to do knitting bingo, and you can use any old bingo board. I just made a little version with cute little knitting related graphics on it. So if you wanted that, you can use it. Yeah, I don't feel like I have really many other updates or topics. I don't want to talk your ear off, even though I know it's a video, you can turn it off at any point, but I just don't want to, go on forever. So I think I'll probably cut it off here. I hope this was interesting or fun. I did make a questions box or like a Google form that you can ask me questions on or suggest topics to me. I might make another video like this in the future. I know I keep saying like, oh, maybe, new people can get to know me this way. And I hope you learned a little bit more about me, that I work at a yarn dyer. I recently left my old job and I'm starting my PhD. Those are things that I kind of talk about. And yeah, I would love to talk about more things. If you do have other questions, like I think you could definitely use that form. I made a post about it on YouTube, but I don't know how many people see posts on YouTube. And I posted it kind of late. I posted it on Friday. So I'll link it if you ever want to. I'll just keep that form open and check it all the time. So if you ever want to suggest a topic for a video for me, it could be one of my pattern roundups. It could be something you really want to hear me talk about. I've talked about things like the tools that I use all the time for knitting. I've shown what's in a project bag and like how I typically prepare for projects, and what I keep like with my whips. I've talked about mohair alternative yarns. So if you have something that you would like me to talk about for whatever reason, or you have a question for me about anything, really anything, I'm a pretty open book. Don't ask me for like my address. I won't tell you that, but you can ask me anything. Yeah, I'll have that linked. It's anonymous, so please don't bully me, but like, I guess you could. I'm not gonna know it's you. And yeah, I guess I hope we can kind of do more chatty things. I also really do want to foster more community on my channel and like have more connections with you all, because you're the reason I do this. It's nice, like it's sometimes hard to remember I'm not talking into a void and there's real people, and so I want to remember that more and like foster more connection. And so yeah, if you have questions for me, I'd love to hear it. And I think that this kind of format is kind of fun because I get to chat. If you want to give me a comment back about anything in the world that you feel like you want to talk about, put it down below. Like, you can make it 2 paragraphs and I'll read it. I would really love to like just get to talk to you all more. And so yeah, love to hear what's going on in your mind, what you're thinking about a lot. Anything like that would be really, really great. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I feel like this video is kind of long, so thank you so much for being here. And I got done this much, like 4 inches maybe, which honestly is pretty good. This does take forever, but it is a US 7 needle. So yeah, all right, I think that's it. Next week I'll do a traditional podcast, so I'll see you all then with hopefully this finished. I think I can finish it by next week. Here I go with artificial deadlines. We'll see. Maybe this will be a finished object and maybe you'll see some other stuff from me. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you all about that, do that traditional podcast format. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope that spring is springing or fall is falling, depending on where you are in the globe, or just that you're enjoying life right now. And so, yeah, I'll talk to you all again soon, and bye!